All right, it's later in the afternoon. I'm heading over to the apartment I share with my brother. I haven't seen him all day. And this kind of leads to the topic a little bit in what we must do spiritually when we're in challenging times. And if you haven't seen parts 1, 2, or 3 of the story I'm telling right now, you might want to go back and get some background on what I'm going to say a little bit. So I was in a situation that was heavy. It was toxic. It um, it took a lot for me to make sure I was there presenting. And I know that, a lot of people talk about, oh, be your true self, but sometimes at work you got to present, honey. You just, you know, to be there to tell the tale, right? And that's why I'm telling the story now, because otherwise I wouldn't have the rest to tell you. Um, so that's kind of why I'm calling this prep for battle, spiritual warfare out there. Um, you got to give time to yourself. And I think that was basically what I was leading up to in part 3 was me waking up in the mornings earlier. It wasn't for the service of going to work. It was actually in service of preparing myself and treating myself with love and kindness, knowing that I'm about to go into some space that is toxic and I don't know what to expect day to day. Okay? So that's kind of one of the things that I try to make sure I let people know. It's not about me being like somebody's super savior or anything like that. It's like I said, please watch parts 1, 2, 3. This one is more about how we must protect your energy, you know, when you know that you're in situations that are heavy. And there are situations, for whatever reason, a lot of people cannot just walk away from situations. I did have a choice, and I will say that. So I chose to stay. And if I made the choice to stay in that toxic environment, I had to prepare myself for that toxic environment. Just like, think about a hospital, right? I mean, that literally is like full of disease, right? But the people who work there, they choose. They made the choice to go into that profession knowing that there's illnesses, there's diseases, there's trauma, there's danger sometimes. And they just prepare themselves, right? Like, let's just go with the basics. Things like washing your hands, wearing masks, putting on gloves. Um, you know, it can be toxic. So the same is true for educators sometimes. So that school year, I made the choice. Okay. Oh, I'm a teacher. So you'd have to watch parts 1, 2, and 3 to get the full background. But I was in a situation where I had the choice to leave, but I chose not to leave. And that meant I had to prepare myself to be in those toxic spaces enough to not let it get me caught up. Okay. And yeah, guarding your energy, basically. I mean, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. And that's usually one of my expressions. It's like, it's whatever, you know, it's all in what you call it. It's like, if it's called being prayed up, having your spiritual angels around, all the other stuff, that kind of thing. You just have to be ready, knowing that you're going to be into some bumpy rides. And I think I started my, I guess, religious slash spiritual background in Christianity and Buddhism. So I already kind of knew about like having like as much as possible no expectation, because the moment you start expecting things, that's where sadness and trauma and all the other things start happening. Um, but I chose to stay there for the sake of the children that were there. I knew what I was getting myself into. I was a grown lady, okay? And I think a lot of times people find themselves in situations where clearly they don't want to be there, and they clearly act like it, and they make it worse for everybody else. Now, like I said in other parts of this story, this coworker, she should have quit, quite honestly. Now, there is a time where it's just over your head. You're just not prepared. She was the one that should have quit. I will say that. If anybody's quitting, okay? The things that were coming from her was like this kind of like me. Oh my, I'm tragic, and you got to feel sorry for me, and all of this other stuff. And it's like, do my work for me kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And uh, women of a certain age, once you start getting to be where you're just like, I don't care. It's like, there are some women who do care too much about what other people think, and that's again problematic, in my opinion, because then that way you're not being your full self. I was still my full self. I just made sure I was where I needed to be, doing what I needed to do, making sure these children were not being abused. Okay. But for the most part, I definitely guarded my energy well. Um, I was I was a light meditator. I will be honest. Back there, it was in 2017, 2018. Light. I should have been a little bit more, but I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know. I was doing what I could do. So I would have time where I was away from this woman. I will say, because of her drama and her trauma, she actually wasn't in the classroom a lot. She was sick and or absent often. So it led for really wonderful, peaceful days in the classroom. And like I said in another video, the kids knew it, I knew it, she knew it, and she just, yeah, she just was not a delightful person at all. She tried to be, she tried to seem like she was, but she was going through some stuff that she really should not have brought herself into those kind of spaces. But it's not the children's fault, you know, and that's why I stayed. Um, I made sure I gave, and this was definitely a year where, you know, sometimes you give it all as an educator, and some years you just have to kind of, you know, sit in the pocket. And this was one of the years where I was kind of sitting in the pocket a little bit, but I was guarding. My main job was there to keep those children safe, okay, and to bear witness, because yeah, she was pulling some shenanigans, and I did not care for the way that she was trying to portray certain kids in the classroom, and it wasn't realistic, and she definitely was not qualified. Even though on paper she looked qualified, but she wasn't ready. And she tried to make it seem like it was the children's fault why she wasn't successful. And as most teachers know, that's not true. It's you. It's you. Okay. Um, and if it is you, then yes, you must go. So yeah. All right. So I'm close to parking. I'm trying to figure out where I could park. I'm gonna start up some cooking over here. That's why I'm over here at my place. I was looking at some bills the other day. I was like, dang. Oy, having two households. That's a lot. Okay. Mm, but yeah, definitely guard your peace, guard your energy, whether you have to be in a space or not. Sometimes you just find yourself where you gotta like stand and deliver. Some people can handle it, some people cannot. Like I said, I made my choice, and I'm actually not even complaining. I'm glad I stayed. The reason for this little series is that a lot of people don't realize that spirituality sometimes it comes in waves or um, events where it's time. You know, think about this. Like if you had like a natural disaster, you can't run away from that, right? Sometimes people are natural disasters, and you just gotta be like, I gotta make a way out of no way. Okay. Yeah, like sometimes you can't run away from situations and you just got to stand and deliver. And that's really what I'm trying to say in this series, where yes, I had choice, and this is where I chose to stay. Okay. And if you have a choice and you have the luxury, then yeah, go. But if you don't, there is still a way where you can be okay. But you've got to make sure you guard yourself. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And I definitely, like I said, I did that. Because this lady, she wanted me to do her work for her, Even though I interviewed for her job, that was one thing. Second thing, she just wasn't ready for public school. Sorry, I'm coughing. That's one sad thing. Excuse me. When it comes to the trees are now waking up and stuff out here. I wish I can flip my screen. But yeah, it's getting warm in Atlanta. It's probably gonna get 70 degrees today. And my allergies are up. Yeah. Oh well. So yeah, these are the things that we kind of have to, as grown-ups, eventually have to learn how to do. Resilience building. Um, yeah, because sometimes you just can't run away from people. And if you're there, like I said, for me, I made that choice. That meant I had to suit up. I had to be ready every day. Every day. And like I said, it wasn't like she was there every day, quite honestly. Some days, like I said, she was just so like miserable and her life was so toxic and turvy and whatever. She was all out often. She was out often. Okay. Yeah. It's like some people don't understand like United States schools. They're kind of different. United States schools. And I know teachers who have gone around the world and taught, and maybe that's what I'll do when I retire. It's like I'll, go somewhere else, go overseas and teach there. The kids, it's not the kids' fault though. So that's the thing. There's like this bigger issue, and I think I mentioned it in part two, where if we live in a country that doesn't support the growth of children, then you're gonna get all kinds of kids coming into your classroom, and you know what you're gonna do. Some people do leave, some people stay. I chose to stay. Okay. All right, so yeah, let me go see what my brother has been doing today, and hopefully he has not like destroyed the apartment. I'm trying to mitigate that. He's learning. He's mentally ill, but I don't know. I feel like even mental illness comes in waves too. Like he had some clarity last week, and this week is not so much. And I want to point it out to him, but I don't either. But it is what it is. That's life, right? I care for him. I love him. That's why I'm here over here right now, about to start some food for him. Um, but yeah, and then I'm heading back over to my place, and then maybe later I might spend the night here. We'll see what he's feeling like. Okay. All right. With that, I say take care.